Yeah, thanks for having me on again this week, Teddy. French Open begins Monday morning, and really, there's the only thing that's available this minute is the outright market, and it's a little too early to get down on the outright market, and I'll explain why. Obviously, I also handicap golf. I was on here talking about the PGA Championship this week. When the golf lines come out, you can get right on them, pretty much right away. The only thing that's going to possibly affect you is weather, but it's every man for himself. In tennis, it's head-to-head matchups, right? It's literally the same thing as March Madness. You gotta wait until the draw comes out because you don't want to be holding tickets on a guy you like when they're in the same quarter as maybe Novak Djokovic, or in this case Carlos Alcaraz, who's the man on clay. So you want to wait, but that doesn't mean you can't start kind of setting your plan in motion, which I'll get to in a little bit. But in general, when you're doing the futures markets, I like to look at the outright market, and I also like to look at the quarters market. And what that is betting who's going to win each quarterfinal. There's 128 players in a major, and there's 4 quarters, and you can get guys basically just to reach the semifinals, and you can get some great plus money on some of those guys to get that far. And again, you got to kind of wait till the draw to get there. And those are just general rules for any tennis tournament. When you get to the French Open, the one last thing I'll add is the French is obviously on clay, and clay is a different animal when it comes to betting tennis. Your guys like Daniil Medvedev and Novak Djokovic are, they're hard to beat on hard surface. There's no doubt about it. But when you get to clay, it is different. There's a reason Rafael Nadal ruled Roland Garros for as long as he did. And there are guys that you might not have heard of that will all of a sudden play very well and beat guys that you have heard of, and you're scratching your head going, what's going on? So when you're looking at the individual matchups as they come out over the 2 weeks, you're going to see names that you might not recognize. And when you question why they might be favorites, or at least lesser of an underdog than you thought so, there's a good reason. And it's because they're clay court specialists, and this is what they do. It's a different animal. So, a guy like Francisco Cerundolo, he just beat Jannik Sinner last week here, earlier this week. And that looks like an upset, but really not much of one. Casper Ruud's a top 10 player, but really he's a top 10 player on clay. If you get to hard surface, you're not betting him to win anything, but he can contend in this type of a tournament. Lorenzo Mazzetti is another name that's just a clay court guy. Point is, pay attention to who these matchups are. Click on their matchup profile and look at their records. You'll see guys that play 80% of their matches on clay, and you just got to take it cautious when you're looking at those individual matchups. But that's just the general rule of thumb. Teddy, I'm guessing you want some actual names and some prices on some guys, right?
Sure, it wouldn't hurt to give some actual names and some prices. That being said, what's your card going to look like? I guess I got 2 questions before we throw back to you for some names and some prices. First, what's your card going to look like? And second, when U.S. time does the French Open start on Monday? Is this one of those deals if people want to get on board, they better get on board on Sunday? Or can you still get in on Monday morning on the East Coast or out here west?
Well, the outright markets, you can they're live, so you can kind of get in on them late. But first matches start at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock French time, which is 5 o'clock hours difference here on the East. So you're talking, yes, very early morning hours on Monday. So possibly 3 a.m., 4 a.m. start time. So unless you're up a night owl like myself, you probably want to get your action in on Sunday night before you go to sleep. Some matches will linger because there's a lot of matches any given day. Will linger into the afternoon hours of Monday, but definitely a lot will begin early on Monday morning. So check your matchups on Sunday, and definitely, if you can, try to get your outrights in before the weekend's up. And the draw will be up most likely on Saturday night going into Sunday, because they kind of wait to see what this current tournament, how this finishes out. So those will be available more than 24 hours in advance as well. So good question there. I will move on to some names for you here, Teddy, and a couple I am looking at that I think, again, I'm going to wait until the draw comes out, but a couple that I will circle right off the way. Stefanos Tsitsipas. He's 10-1 right now on the outright market. And I got to just preface that in this tournament, there's probably 6 players, realistically, that have a shot to win this thing. 5 setters is a different animal than 3 setters. There's a lot of underdogs that can win a 3-set match, but a 5-set match, a marathon, is very difficult. Anybody knows that. The longer the sample size, the longer a season is, the more likely the better player or team or whatever is going to prevail. And it's the same in these majors, right? So he's 10-1. He's obviously a top 5 player, and there's good reasons. He's very good on clay. He's 25-5 record in 2021, 17-4 last year, 13-3 so far this year. He's currently in the semifinals in Rome this week, which is a big Masters 1000 event. Those are the next biggest events besides the majors. He's won 4 events the last 2 seasons. 3 of them were on clay. The only thing missing for Tsitsipas so far is a major win, but we're getting to the end of the big 3 era, right? Djokovic, Nadal, and Federer, and there are a lot of good names that are really starting to rise to the top, and a lot of young guys. Tsitsipas is kind of in that in-between range. He's been around a little bit longer than some of these young guys, but I feel like he's going to get a major. His best surface is clay, so if there is a chance to do it, it's probably here. 10-1. Again, wait till the draw comes out to see. Make sure he's not in Carlos Alcaraz's quarter because he's going to be the dangerous one. I'll get to him in a second. Next one I like, Holger Rune plus 850. 20 years old this kid is, from Denmark. He's worked himself up to number 7 in the world ranking already. He's in the semifinals also this week. He just beat Novak Djokovic in the last round to get there, which is his second straight win over the world number 1. So that gives you an idea of this kid's talent. Rune is 17-4 over his last 6 Masters 1000 events, including winning in the fall at the Paris Masters. And he beat Djokovic in that final. He also won a 500 series event in Munich on clay just last month. The worry I have, if he wins this week, I actually like his chances a little less at the French Open because it's a very quick turnaround and it's very difficult to win back-to-back. So I'm kind of rooting for him to lose maybe here in the semis and then give him a little time off and let him come in fresher for the French Open. But he is a name I have circled. He's also a great bet to win his quarterfinal. He just did that this week. He was plus 300 to do so. So keep that in mind. But ultimately, Teddy, this is Carlos Alcaraz's tournament to lose. He's plus 130 to win the whole dang thing, which is incredibly low, obviously. 20 years old. He's already reached world number 1. He's fallen back to number 2, right behind Djokovic right now, but he's going to pass him. He's won 4 Masters 1000 titles already. He's the reigning U.S. Open champion. He's already won at Indian Wells, Barcelona, and Madrid this year. Like another famous Spaniard, he can win on any surface, but clay is where he rules. He went 27-4 last year, already 20-2 this season, a combined 7 titles at 20 years old on clay already. He was surprisingly ousted early this week, but honestly, that only gives him more time to get ready for that French Open, and a fully fit and rested Carlos Alcaraz on clay. It's like rolling back the clock on getting Rafael Nadal back, before he dominated this tournament and getting him in those first few years. So expect Carlos to be there at the end. Expect him to reign on clay for years and years and years to come. It's hard to get a lot of money down on him and anybody else because he's such a favorite. But just keep in mind, it's his tournament to lose. If you're betting quarters, if you're betting draw outrights, just pay attention to where he is on the draw. If you can get on the other side of him, those are the guys you might want to do, and then you can always hedge your bet later. So those are the 3 guys I have circled now, Teddy.
Tsitsipas, Rune, and of course the favorite, Alcaraz, plus 130 versus the field. Carlos Alcaraz, the favorite, for good reason, as Nick Borrman has just stated. Nick, what do you have to promote? What's going on at WagerTalk.com this weekend?
Yeah, thanks, Teddy. We have a soccer best bet going today, Italy Serie A this afternoon. Been on an incredible soccer run, 31-10 the month of May. So hopefully we'll continue to keep that rolling. MLS, up 40 units on the year, going for 5 straight winning seasons. I have my pack. There's a Saturday full slate of games going Saturday evening. So that is up available now, as well as a small card Saturday and Sunday morning in Europe soccer as well. So a lot of soccer this weekend, and that's what's going on right now. And we will have French Open available later today. $49, Teddy. It's going to get you the entire tournament. So that's 2 full weeks. It'll be all outright plays, all futures plays, and then, of course, daily matchups as we go through those 2 weeks.